are now live. And let's see if I can get my camera back.
Okay, okay. I guess like since we're live anyway right now, I'm just gonna say something like quick. Uh, no. John Brockman's not drunk. John Brockman has a cat. There's a cat. Is and I was almost like we're drunk too because we're off to the side, but like, and we're now joined by Isaiah.
Welcome to the Alchemy bench, everyone. This is
How's
how
it
it goes
going?
when you have a cat.
Uh,
So I guess we're witnessing World War III, I guess.
uh,
That is probably not what's going to happen.
yeah, it's
I don't-
either way, if there's going to it's going to be how long the military conflict will be. It will just be like again, it will be like over in Ukraine, but they'll be kind of like if Iran and U.S. fight against each other, it'll be in Iraq. I swear. But then again, like Russia does want like Ukraine because like as I listened from Robert Evans talk about the Ukraine as or one thing is like this conflict between Russia and like Ukraine has been going on for like a decade. They're kind of Ukraine was just like we don't know what the fuck is going to happen, which is like I hope it like doesn't happen. Um, Facebook page is somehow slow for me, so I'm going to like make sure that like I get it posted live like in another tab as it were, and then there we go, that one worked, and then I posted to Twitter. Yes, don't mind me. I'm just like busy tweeting out the things as it were.
I'm sorry, I haven't heard a
I
word
do have to
either of you
say
have said.
though,
I've been paying too much attention to my cat.
I
Okay, so
do say that sometimes I do struggle with paranoia sometimes.
mhm,
Mhm.
it is reasonable. Okay, vocab will be in here in 2 minutes, so yeah.
Okay, cool. Volvacat is a Russian.
Yes.
And therefore, we'll be able to talk, empire to empire.
He's one of the good, he's one of the good ones, like the Republicans like to say about good black folks.
You ruined it. I was about to call you on that. Well, at
Okay,
least
hold
let
on.
me say that he's very well spoken.
They're just like how the
Do you
poem,
guys
like certain black folks, they're very well spoken.
Yes, that is exactly what I was doing there.
do you guys think that I'm like rude or anything? I'm just asking. Like I have problems. Like, do you guys notice that or something?
No,
Notice
it's
what?
fine.
Yeah.
That when some of the things I say may be a little harsh.
No. Well, it's no more harsh than like how we say things, as it were.
Hmm. It's
The,
tough
and
for me
it,
to judge,
and it,
though, being autistic and all.
yeah. I'm never the virgin
Like
myself.
for ex- like for example, like if I said that I don't like culture because I didn't really have a good cultural upbringing with my ancestors. Like if I said I didn't like black culture that much.
Well, I can't like speak to that because I'm a white person, and so it's like. Because it'd be like tricky for me. Hey Joe, and hey Joey, the Indigenous Heretics, how you doing? Um, so it would be difficult for me to like comment on it as it were one way or the other. Like you should embrace black culture, or it's just like, oh no, don't reject black culture. I think that's the worst one as it were because like
Well,
again,
I'm not doing that, but
exactly. Hey, so you're not doing that. So it's like it's up to you, honestly. And also, I think it's like you're within your right to like, definitely say that to criticize black culture as you see it, as it were.
okay.
Don't worry, Isaiah. Even though like
I know
the,
one time.
go ahead,
I know
Isaiah.
one time. I I think the hatred also came from when I said I wanted to get rid of religion because I had a pastor tell me that being autistic was a curse from God. So that was one reason why I
Awesome.
wanted to
Awesome.
No,
Awesome.
no. If
just
you
take a flamethrower and tell me to
Mhm.
religion, just fucking burn that fucker to the ground.
No. Your hatred for religion because of your experience with it is definitely reasonable. I have my feelings on religion have changed frequently, honestly, over my life. Because grew up Catholic, and then I just and then discovered atheism, and so yes, I became one of those trilby wearers, and now I was just
Hello
I
there.
hello there, Volcast.
Hey, so I don't actually know people around here except for John, I believe. Are we calling you John? Oh, Isaiah is here. Well,
Yes, it is here.
Yes. Yes.
yeah, that's great. That's great. Nice to see Isaiah being here.
Mm-hmm.
Person I know. So are we like live anywhere?
We are live.
Yes, we are live
YouTube.
on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great then. So we're already live. I knew we were going to be. That's great.
I'm actually eating pie.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I've been hungry.
So,
for the whole
greetings
day.
from our evil empire. How is your evil empire doing?
My evil empire sucks.
Cat. Some of you still control some of Japan. The islands over there on the East Coast.
You mean the Kurila Island?
Oh yeah, that one. Because I was about to say no. Japan right now is like a proxy state for America. It has been since the end of the World War.
So is the
they're part of our
Philippines.
Some islands.
They're part of our plan to, encircle China and keep them from achieving dominance in any way.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was going to say that my evil empire is bad at things, like legitimately actually bad and incompetent at things, and that's probably even worse. Probably even worse than ones that are good at things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, as I know, you guys are like legit Marxist, anarcho-communist guys, right? Here on this
John?
podcast.
Look at my shirt. It's red.
Yes, Isaiah, your shirt is red, but it's a Star Trek red shirt, not that kind of red shirt. And my shirt is pink anyway. Hey, however, mine does say events for the corrupt ideas of post-modern neo-Marxists.
Yeah, I get it.
But this is a joke referring to something that Jordan Peterson said in the pay-per-view video. Oh my god!
I mean, all of them say this. Something about Marxist ideas or something about postmodernism and how it's bad. They all do.
John Brockman is he says he is an anarchist, but he says he's like a mutual syndicalist kind. I am a narco-syndicalist, but also a communist too. So it's
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to actually, on more of your subject, wanted to talk to you a bit on the nature of protest and this whole thing. Because the story I actually wanted to tell you is not about the war that's happening right now. The story of the war that's happening right now is pretty much out there on the media, and the Western media at least, seems to be pretty clear on what's going on. I believe they have no incentive to lie.
Real quick, I just want to say, Mithril, I'm really sorry to hear about that.
I haven't mentioned that one of our friends in chat says that's really hard news that your dad died. So condolences out to you. But
that's fucked up.
As you were saying, Volcat.
Yeah, I was saying about the evil empires and stuff, and that's what's going on right now is it's like when we all woke up to this, just like I said, this rude awakening that no. We are not just like another evil country. We are right now the most evil country that's out there. Like,
You're
legitimately.
evil.
Yeah, actively evil. That's the point. That's the thing. And that's what I hate the most, because right now I feel powerless. I feel really, really powerless. Because the protests that were happening here, there's an interesting history behind those protests. I'll be relaying to you some of the stories that I've heard and some of the stories that I've witnessed, because it's something that you people out there right now need to know. It's the history, like the sad history of the last several years of protest activity here in Russia, Moscow specifically, not just Moscow, but anyway. So it all basically started around 10 years ago when Putin came back to power after that short part of President Medvedev being in power. He's totally a pawn, but actually when he was in power, things were seeming to get better. Medvedev at least seemed like a guy who is on the internet, and he didn't seem to hate it. He didn't seem to hate the internet. He seemed to really actually enjoy it as a person, like this amazing technology. As we all know, Vladimir Putin hates the internet. He's not on the internet. He never uses it. He uses all his yes men to bring him folders with actually printed out stuff.
He's one of those analog guys.
Yes, he is one of those analog guys, and he hates the internet.
He's the dumb manager who makes you print up all his emails. Gotcha.
Yeah. And so the thing that happened, like, you all probably heard of this guy Alexei Navalny, right? And I am not going to say his name too many times out loud in our talks here. I am just going to, like, he's the opposition leader. I'm not going to say his name out loud because my mother is in my next room and she hates the guy. She actively hates the guy. Like, he's a polarizing person here in Russia. A lot of people who are on the whole propaganda hook, and some people who are not on the propaganda hook, like my mother, but who are still what they call themselves as active patriots or whatever. She calls herself apolitical, and she most of the time is. But whenever it floats up, like there are just those people who believe democracy doesn't exist, like factually doesn't exist. She believes everything is according to some plan. And she believes that active civil protest, that's what I wanted to start with, is that my mother believes that active civil protest never works, that every single revolution that ever happened in the world was actively premeditated by some smart agent that knew what they were doing and pulling the strings. And
like a new war order or something like that.
Yeah. Like she believes in a conspiratorial world government, but unlike many of the conspiracy theorists, she believes it to be an actively good thing. Like without them, we're all screwed.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what she believes. Like, so she's like pro-authoritarian. She's not like let's destroy authoritarianism. She's like authoritarianism is the only thing keeping us alive. Like without it, it's just chaos and we all die horribly. So that's the person I argue with sometimes. So that's what I wanted to start with. And that's actually why I wanted to talk to you about the nature of protest. Because right now, because of those kinds of people surrounding me, I feel powerless. And the thing she keeps telling me is like, you do anything, you do whatever the hell you want, you spend your money on whatever the hell you want, don't take part in any of that thing. Those people are stupid. They are making themselves open to prosecution. They are ruining their own lives, and they are not achieving anything. So that's it. Basically, she thinks any kind of active civil protesters are stupid. And
so it's like it's like okay boomer kind of, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. You're right. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about that guy. Because he started out, he has a shady history. Because when he was just a political activist in the beginning, he was kind of sort of right-wing. He was, and all his right-wingedness.
You're talking about the opposition leader, right?
Yeah, the opposition leader. He was kind of anti-immigrant because there were a lot of like immigrants from like Middle Asia in the early aughts, and right now basically they are still here, but it's a bit more civilized. In that time, it was kind of a wild age in that sense. And because they were illegal, and because nobody registered them, and because they were all living in shitty conditions, what do you expect from people who live in shitty conditions and being paid like literally nothing? Of course they would misbehave. Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. And so there were like a lot of those Russians who were like actively anti-immigrant. That was a big sentiment. Now he distanced himself from those things. Now he said like, yeah, I'm not that guy anymore. I am not holding those positions anymore. But back then he was even taking part in some like actively nationalist, like this thing we call Russian March. It's like this nationalist opposition march that they held once a year. And they were like, they were not pro-authoritarian, they were right-wing, basically. But they were like right-wing libertarian. You know the thing. You know how they differentiate. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's the complicated part about the history. And what happened next is basically then he's a lawyer by education, and in the early like middle aughts, he started buying Gazprom stock papers,
Mm.
and buying stock papers of this company actually lets you in on the inner dealings of the company. If you
Mm.
buy them, you can read all the transcripts. And he's a lawyer by education. So back in the aughts, he started his blog about corruption in those companies, about how they are government affiliated actually, how they are not real private businesses, how they are all the same basically, and how they are stealing money. So he started his political actions by revealing these big business oligarchs to be basically frauds. That's what he started doing.
Mhm.
Uh, and then it all kind of escalated quickly because he became really popular with this blog. And by the time of like 2011, he became this really popular guy, and he even basically ran for Moscow mayor once. Because the Moscow mayor that was currently back then, he was removed by the president, and there was an election for a new mayor, and he was the second result. He got like 23% or so. No, he almost got like 23%, and the active mayor right now only like got 25. So he almost second toured the guy. If they had like no, I believe there was this rule that if they have like less than something, they would be a second tour, and it would be only the election between the two top ones or
Oh,
something.
right. Like so, like a
No,
runoff.
I believe the deal was that he had 23% or something, and the active mayor had 51% or something. And if the active guy gets less than 50%, then there's a second tour. You
Right,
gotta
right.
get more than 50% somehow. And
Yeah.
the second tour is only the top two guys, and then one of them is getting more than 50% anyway.
Yeah, that sounds like a
So
runoff election
yeah,
that happens like in
runoff
first
election.
edition.
Yeah. That it was almost a runoff between those two.
Yeah,
Mm,
makes sense.
And basically, the deal then was he was even allowed to do that. What happened next, like under Putin when he came back, is that the kind of corruption in the election system was not that even the right guys were getting like votes added to them, which happened, but not that actively. What happened is that all the guys that actually mattered were not even allowed to run. They were not even allowed to run for the election itself. So we call it something like type 1 election fraud. Like it's a type 2 election fraud is when you actually make fake votes or something, and type 1 election fraud is when you just don't allow your opponents into the election in the first place.
Wow.
So that's what's going on here right now.
I mean, we have like
Yeah.
election fraud here, like all across the country too, by like the Thuglicans. That's a word because like
Yeah.
okay, we have gerrymandering, and then we have people who lie about election fraud.
Yeah. I
We
know,
also
I
have
was
just
following
preventing
the
people
thing.
from voting.
I was following the thing. Yeah, I was actually actively following the American thing for the last like year or maybe 2 years, because it was all kind of fascinating for me. It was like I'm looking at those Republicans, and I'm like looking at this and like, this is not fair. Those guys are awful. This is not supposed to be happening. And then I'm sitting with this realization that this has already happened in my own country, and they've already won, and I am incapable of doing anything with it. And so what happens next after that 2011 thing is that in 2012, Putin comes back to power, and any sort of kind of liberalization thing that was going on was basically rolled back. And there were those Duma elections also back in 2012, and they were arguably one of the maybe not as falsified as right now, but back then the falsification for the ruling party was obvious. It was like blatant. It was like of course. And so there were protests, and this was the first time when people in Moscow actively protested, and the government hated it because First, they tried to assemble a counter-protest. They tried to rally their own people on a separate location, like pro-Putin guys, like we're against this. They tried to do it like the proper way. But then after that, basically they passed this law that basically prohibits any kind of protest action without first agreeing it with the government. Like if you don't sanction it beforehand, you're a criminal. And you are doing illegal protesting. Yeah, illegal protesting is the thing here.
Oh yeah,
Not rioting, not breaking windows, just protesting. And after that, for the longest time possible, the limiting factor was the number of people. If it's like 10 people or more, it's like a protest. If less, it's like just a. So many people were lying these lonely picket things. They were like one guy standing with a banner, and basically several years ago they banned that as well. Like you can be arrested for that as well. And if you're the lonely guy standing with a flag or a banner, you probably will be arrested because you're alone. You're like visible. You're seen. And
so yeah, a country that like bans protests and makes it illegal and something like that is definitely not like a free country as a word. And
of course.
Yeah.
Okay, we knew we weren't.
We're trying to do that here.
Well, no, we're not trying to ban protests. We're just making it legal to murder protesters with your car.
No, yeah, that's true.
That's the thing. But the problem here in Russia is that nobody would murder protesters. Like, we don't have an active opposition to those protests. We don't have a strong enough cast of people that are in support of our power. Basically, all the people that are in support of our current power are vegetables. They are propaganda victims. They are not. That's like the thing about the informational autocracy, is that the propaganda is actively trying to make you dormant. Not like the Republican Party and Trump who are trying to rally up their supporters and make them aggressive. No. The propaganda here was doing everything in order to make our people dormant. Like, no,
Passive.
Don't go out. It's scary. It's bad. You'll get arrested. Politics is not for you. It's for people with money. That's the thing. That's the difference probably. So no, we don't have active Putin supporters here. They are all passive. They are all probably elderly people and some middle-aged people who are just sitting in their couches.
Yeah.
So no active support, nothing like that. Everybody who is active is liberal, basically.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Murdering them legal wouldn't change a thing.
Okay, that's definitely a difference here in our context as well, because like the Trump supporters, some of them are silent because they're like in liberal cities and something like that, or they have like liberal families, and like I don't talk to my younger brother because like I don't talk to my younger brother about politics because it has to go well when I have talked about politics. But in other places, no, the Trump flags, the American flags, the loser flags for the Confederacy. Yeah, some of them are just...
No, there's nothing like that in support of the ruling class here. Because even if some people would assemble in support of Putin in Moscow right now, they would get arrested too. You know why? Because every protest calls for counter-protest. Because counter-protesters are then like, if they can do it, we can do it as well.
Interesting.
And the government doesn't want that. So, no.
That's an interesting take as a word of like why do like a band protest is where to maintain civility essentially.
Yeah, you maintain civility. So, and they are not making their own protests.
Yeah.
I believe the only extremely pro-government public action that was going on in recent years was this thing called basically the Immortal Soldiers. I don't know how to translate it. There's this word for the Immortal Army. It's this post-World War II thing whenever people go out on the street and they all work with their portraits of their deceased World War II veterans. People who died in the war, people who died after the war. It's quite beautiful, actually. It's extremely pro-government, but then it's not actively political. It's like, here are the people who died. Here are the people who took part in the war.
Okay.
You can't say it's bad because it wasn't even probably... I believe it wasn't even actually Russians who invented it. I believe it was some Ukrainian folks living here. That's a funny thing to realize.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, like Ukraine and Belarus were the two places that were struck the worst in World War II.
That does make
Not,
sense because they're right in
yeah,
between or something like that.
yeah, Nazis never reached Moscow,
Apparently,
and
apparently the
yeah.
president. Apparently, the president of Belarus doesn't think women should be president because they're weak. Is that true?
Yeah, he said that. Yeah, it's true. Lukashenko is even probably, if you think Putin is like just a psychopath, Lukashenko is legitimately mad at this stage. He's like a terrorist. He's like this guy. Like he would nuke anyone in an instant if he had nuclear weapons. He doesn't.
Okay, well that's
He would
scary.
he would probably nuke his own people first because he hates them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Yeah, that's actually if you look at it, that's actually the Russian way of doing things. The West is imposing sanctions on us. Okay,
Yes.
then we will impose counter sanctions, and the only people who the counter sanctions will harm are who? The Russian people, of course.
yeah, exactly.
There was like active footage of the Russian state officials destroying food from Poland and from Europe with bulldozers. Like, let's have all those nice apples we have and let's bulldoze them because they are under our counter sanctions now. This is like barbarism.
Yep.
This is not even capitalism bad.
Right, because yeah. So
No sane capitalist would do that.
Yeah, they
Just
would
face
steal it and sell it somewhere else.
They would steal it and sell it somewhere else. Those guys just bulldoze the apples.
no, it does actually kind of happen where it's just like this is food that can like absolutely be sold as it were, but they would just like throw it out as it were. But that's for food that like normally would get sold if it was like profitable.
Yeah. They're unbought. I know the deal. But no, it wasn't unbought. It was banned.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's just like.
Yeah, this is kind of bad. Okay, so I was talking about the protest activity, and it kind of went dormant after 2014 because the Crimea and the whole thing. And the funny thing about Crimea is that it worked. No matter what you say, it worked. Because let me tell you myself, I've been in Crimea in 2015. I know it probably sounds bad, but it was like back then nobody of us realized really what happened because we all kind of believed that it was like this peaceful overtake and the people on the peninsula wanted it, and every single person we talked to there seemed like they wanted it. Because we go to Crimea and then there are suddenly Russian flags all over the place and Putin portraits on the wall, like graffiti, like it's everywhere. It was everywhere. It was really vibrant if you think about it.
It's almost kind of like when after World War II, like American diplomats would come over to Japan and see like Japanese citizens flying the American flag and something.
The American flags, yeah. It seemed like that, and of course there was no war in Crimea, as you know. It was like everybody says, it was kind of bloodless. It's true. There was no war there, and so yeah. And back then that kind of worked for a couple of years. It kind of worked. Probably the last time I remember myself feeling proud for what my country is doing is probably 2018 with the championship, with the soccer championship.
Oh, okay.
Because that was a good time actually. I kind of already hated the government and everything that was going on, but the championship itself, it was kind of beautiful. We had like people from all over the place, and it sure seemed nice. It sure at least felt like Moscow was this, not just Moscow, but the whole place was just this center for international community for a moment, because there were people from all over the world walking around in the street. I felt like a part of the international community back in the day. So yeah, that was like nice, but after that it all went like straight downhill. 2019 was awful, and maybe even late 2018 was awful, because again the thing with Navalny started happening again because he started being really, really active. He was really active for all the time, but it started being pushy. Because the start of like this new protest activity we had now, was probably the Khabarovsk protests of 2020, of summer 2020.
Yeah,
And
Belarus. Yeah.
no, Khabarovsk, not Belarus.
Oh,
It started earlier than Belarus. Yes, that's the thing.
Okay.
Belarus was after that.
Okay.
No, it was in Russia, and the thing was that they basically what happened in Khabarovsk is that they removed the local governor, which the people elected, and the local governor he wasn't oppositional. He was like of one of the fake opposition parties that are like we have the like United Russia Party, which is like the government, and there are like three other parties, which is like the LDPR, which is like they are called Liberal Democrats. They are furthest from it you can imagine. They're like awful. Then there's the KPRF, which are supposed to be communists. And there's like there's the Fair Russia Party, which is supposed to be socialists. They are like all of them are like fake opposition. They're like no, just no. And so Navalny had this one plan that was actually kinda seemed like a working solution. Because faking the elections, like with actually throwing in fake votes, it's not very hideable. You
Right.
always get some statistics. You always get at least some truth out of it. And if you look at statistics, you kind of see the result. And so the Navalny's plan was so-called smart voting. It was like, okay, we know that the government wants this candidate to be this governor on this place in Duma, because as they all said, it's like all the places are sold. Basically, if this guy wants to be like a governor, basically he paid someone. There was an arrangement. There was an agreement. Somebody paid somebody for this. So we choose the next best candidate, no matter how screw up he is. We choose the next best candidate and vote for him. He is also pro-government, but this was not the government's plan. We are ruining their plans the way we can. So, okay, some liberals were against this because they were like, "This is bad faith. This is not how democracy works. This is bad voting culture." But it worked because several times it actually broke the plans. One time it even got a couple of really liberal people into the Moscow State Duma, like the local parliament. And right now I believe they are not there anymore, but it was a thing. They were there, and there was this woman. Her name is Daria Besedina, and she was like doing this really interesting thing, because every time she was going to like a meeting to an assembly, she was bringing with herself a gay pride flag, and this was like screwing with people's minds in that Duma. This was like everybody was pissed. This is like because again here in Russia we have like a direct law against gay propaganda. Like you can be gay but you can't propagandize it. It's like considered a toxic ideology. Yeah, it's like considered a toxic ideology. Like it's the West that is coming with their, just like I said, with their to destroy our family. You know the thing.
It's just like the American culture affecting like people in Saudi Arabia or Vietnam.
And so that's how it's done here. And there were like the government was like basically there was also this thing when there was the Pride Day and the American embassy like put out the pride flags on the facade basically, like huge rainbow flags hanging there, and the Moscow like police and Moscow state officials were like, "Why are you doing this, guys?" But they couldn't do anything with it. It's an embassy. They have the right to do it. They have immunity. Yeah, they have immunity.
And yet, like just this past year, we mentioned this in the fall, is that like even still with the Biden administration, the State Department that runs our like diplomats and ambassadors, as it were, employees at the State Department still cannot talk about like gay rights or anything like that with like before the positions, because it will offend like our friends like Saudi Arabia, as it were.
No, the American embassy in Moscow totally had huge pride flags out there.
Yes, that's cool for like the American embassy, absolutely.
It's like a thing in a country where some very conservative officials tried to ban a rainbow ice cream for all it's worth. It's like literally called the Rainbow, and it's like a rainbow taste ice cream. It's kind of nice, but they didn't manage to ban it, but they tried. just for it being a rainbow. You know, it's that absurd. It's like that thing in Belarus where you try to not make sure that the white and the red stripes are not interchanging because it's the protest flag, and then you're basically in danger because they arrested some guy that had like red and white stripes on his window just as a window dressing. It wasn't a flag or anything.
Oh yeah.
It was not even no, not window dressing. He was handing out his linen, his bed sheets that he washed. And they were white and red, and they turned into a flag, and the guy got arrested. Yeah, that's absurd. That absurd, but that's what Lukashenko does.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that far. This crazy guy. Again, these people are cartoon villains with real nukes. That's what I was saying all the time.
Yeah, Putin and the rest of the oligarchs that run the Russian government as were
They are cartoonishly evil. They have nothing going on for them. They have no real ideology. Because again, this is the thing about our propaganda. It's unideological. It's like actively trying to tell its people to not be involved in politics. That's the opposite of ideology.
A lot of that's the thing that Noam Chomsky has talked about with our political system and advertising and marketing as were for the benefit of capitalism. You do not want to have a informed public because a informed public would not waste money on these terrible craps that they really don't need or spend money on for 4 easy payments of $19.95 a month. And just that you got weaponized by the political parties, mostly the Republicans, but the Democrats use this tactics too, as it were, so that because a uninformed public is easily controllable public, and that makes sense how Russian state propaganda tells their people not to be involved.
Okay, so back to the protest thing.
Yes.
So the smart voting was really hated by our government because it kind of worked.
Yeah,
because it doesn't achieve real results in terms of electing good people, but it achieves the results in terms of breaking somebody's plan.
Yeah,
because somebody paid a lot of money for that, and now they are not getting what they want. And that's kind of the guerrilla warfare activity when it comes to voting. Because
So, Govacat, do you guys ever think you guys will have a liberal democracy in Russia?
I really wanted to, because that's what our people need right now in terms of empowering them. It's what they need to feel empowered, because otherwise, it's what our thought leaders, when it comes to liberalism, call the learned helplessness. It's when you are so much overrun by all the authoritarians which are running your country that you're self-defeatist. You're like, no, I'm incapable of doing anything. It never changes. It's our fate. It's fatalism, basically. That's why you know the stereotype about how all classical Russian literature is fatalist and about death and gloom. Yeah. And so that's kind of where it comes from. It's like this idea that Russians are always suffering, and this idea that this is our fate, this is somehow our mentality, this is somehow the only thing we can do, and that also the propaganda idea that our mentality is different to the West, and that the West can have democracy and we can't, which is also probably a very popular idea among dictatorships.
Exactly.
Actually, that's where the Ukraine hate comes in. It's like a Slavic people, a Slavic nation that has one.
Oh, so
they're a threat to the oligarchs because they provide an example.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Again, their president is a comedic actor, and a really nice comedic actor. Actually, a comedic actor that was mostly filming in Russian language things. He wasn't like this Ukrainian language purists which exist in Ukraine, but not the majority. They exist, yes. Some of them want to actively stop people using Russian on their territory, but it's really hard because we all have relatives there. A lot of those people came here during the Soviet age, and language is complicated. You can't simply ban people from speaking some language. It's actually some of the arguments that our propaganda used against Ukraine. They are banning all the Russian people from speaking Russian. which did
Right.
happen a couple of times. It's not like our propaganda is taking like it from nowhere. It's not like they are completely inventing it, but they are over exaggerating like single events basically.
Oh yeah,
Are there like are there like Ukrainian nationalists in Ukraine? Sure, there are some.
Yeah.
Like in every country, there are like its own nationalists, its own
Oh yeah.
Nazis. Like yeah, we have them in Russia or whatever. We do, we sure do. They take many forms. Some are like just neo-Nazis who like wear swastikas. Some are like Russian imperialists who are like pro-monarchy. They
Yeah,
wear
yeah.
like Russian Empire flags. They look a lot like German Empire flags. Actually, they have like yellow and black and white, I believe. It's like the Russian Empire pre-revolution Russian Empire flag, the Tsarist flag.
And that's a good point, though, Limpy. The U.S. has abandoned and killed indigenous languages here because of that, like erasing the culture of the indigenous people here. Just like the boarding schools that, like, some of them are still active, I think, or like were active up until like the 90s or recent history.
Yeah. Okay, so the thing is that all the people in the eastern Ukraine, not all of them, but many of them actually do speak Russian because just because of the territory. Just because
just like just like it is in Southern California and Texas. That's where many people also speak Spanish because, like,
and that's the pretext under which the whole war in Donbass in 2014 started. It's like there was this violent revolution in Ukraine, and the Donbass fought back, and they separated, and since then Russia was basically secretly, like, it's an open secret, but they were supplying them with weapons and
I remember
manpower actually. Yeah. That's the thing. And that's actually the argument that many pro-war people right here are using. There are few and far between pro-war people here, but those who are kind of active about it. They are like, where were all of you anti-war people looking when the Ukrainian forces were bombarding poor Donbass for the last 8 years, killing innocent people? Where were you?
I don't know. I've been here this entire time. Mithril has a comment. I have a friend from Estonia. His grandparents were Stalin, like, Russian imports, and my friend thinks Putin is okay because the propaganda they were fed as kids. Yeah, not surprising. Unfortunate though.
Yeah, that's actually an ancient popular. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm getting to that thing over a long period because it's a lot of history. It's a lot of things going on.
Right.
And so the smart voting worked in Khabarovsk once, and so they elected this guy called Sergei Furgal, who was just like literally like a nobody. But this nobody, when he came to power, he never thought he would come to power, and so when he came to power, he kinda actually people started liking him because he was just a nice guy who was not doing like awful shitty things. Though he was still like this LDPR party, and he was still kinda not very nice about it, but better than the alternative, you know the thing.
Right.
And maybe part of it was because people liked him because they actually voted for him. Because for once they felt like they're in power. Okay, we elected this guy. He is no different to the other guy, but at least it's this guy. It's the guy.
My vote mattered this time.
Yeah, my vote mattered this time. That's how people felt. And so then, basically, way before he is supposed to be re-elected, this guy is being removed on some fake charges, called in Moscow, arrested, jailed, and replaced by some other party line guy from the same party, who is this time a much less impressive guy even than this guy.
Oh, sounds like a sort of like internal coup, as it were.
Yeah. And people don't like it. Like, people actively don't like it. And they go to the streets, and it lasts for a week.
Oh wow, yeah. So there's a protest.
Yeah,
like
it was one of the more impressive protests in the time, and nobody in Khabarovsk was ready for this. There was just not enough police to control it in any way, because like a quarter of the town was out on the streets. It was almost not a protest. It was almost like a city celebration kind of thing. People were having hot food. People were having like music concerts. People were having like this big event. It was. Everybody who was there said it was really positive.
It's almost like how
too many things after it.
Right, almost like the Chas and Chop in Seattle, as were after like they finally ousted the Capitol Hill police in that like area. It turned into basically like a block party, as it were, for weeks, essentially. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So that's how it started. And after that, basically, Then the Belarus happens, like the same summer in August.
Right.
And what happens in Belarus? You know what happens in Belarus. Lukashenko gets himself re-elected. People don't like it
Yeah.
because nobody voted for him because he totally flipped the walls. It's like 80-20, but he just said it's the opposite way around. So yeah. And
I win because I say so.
yeah. And you know this woman who was like elected actually, like Tikhanovskaya, she's in exile right now. She's basically in Europe right now because she ran away. Her husband got arrested, and this is actually they got this thing from Chechnya playbook, making the people you arrest apologize on their knees at gunpoint, and filming it.
That seems like an honest.
Straight out of. It seems straight out of like Chechnya Muslim extremist playbook. That's what they did during the Chechnya war. They took it. They found it to be a nice practice. Actually, like the whole Chechnya thing is really weird because the ruler of it is right now is this Kadyrov guy who is like extremely loyal to it. Like he's this guy who licks his ass all the time because. And this is always weird to see those like awful stereotypical, this stereotypical portrait of stereotypical racist portrait of Middle Asian guys who are Muslims saying really awful things.
I think so.
Basically, this is like Chechnya, but it's like true. Because they are saying awful things. Because before this war started, there was this event which everybody forgot about right now, when basically there was this oppositional judge kind of guy, and he crossed a path somewhere in Chechnya, and whenever he lived in Nizhny Novgorod, it's like 500 kilometers east of Moscow, nowhere near Chechnya, and then basically Chechen people came for him. They didn't take him because he has this judge immunity card, but they took his wife, and they arrested his wife, and they beat up his wife. They made his wife film this excuse on her knees at gunpoint, basically.
Good.
So whatever. And after that, those like massive actions started happening in Chechnya, and basically Kadyrov himself and all of his supporters around him stated out loud that we are avenging, like these people, they are our blood enemies, and we want their heads cut off. This is like a public official saying those things.
Well,
a public official proclaiming blood revenge. Like this is bad. This is like bad.
I'm sure that we can reason with these people and have come to an agreement or a compromise somehow. In order
yes, if we move to the right, they will also move to the right. Yeah, it's a perfect compromise.
Yeah. And this is again why I was saying about how this Chechnya Legion going to Ukraine right now is kind of scary because those people are motivated. And again, what was kind of funny about those meetings of those people of this like board of directors of Chechnya, basically, they all have portraits of people there. And among all their portraits of people who are from Chechnya, there's one portrait of Putin, a white guy in the middle. This is kind of screwed up. I always found this screwed up.
There was also the time.
Putin launched the war in Chechnya in the 90s, too.
Yeah. No, he wasn't a president in the 90s. He became a president in 99.
Sorry.
Yeah, he was like a security minister a couple of months
head of the SFV or whatever it is.
Yeah, sorry?
Head of the whatever they call the security bureau.
Yeah. That security bureau. He was head of that.
Okay.
And so he advocated for basically shooting terrorists whenever they are. You know this quote about him telling to shoot terrorists in the toilet. If we find them there, that's where they die. It's his quote.
Wonderful person. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's your precedent.
And so I wandered off a bit again.
No problem.
So basically, again, you know what happened in Belarus, I told you already. And Belarus in the first weeks of protest, it went full on like Gestapo on people.
Yeah,
It's they had like those improvised concentration camps. They were putting people in piles.
right,
They
right.
were beating up a lot of people. Like there were like unconfirmed allegations of rape. It was all there, but it only happened for like the first 3 days because then it went massive. Then like everybody went on the street. Like it was crazy impressive. Like there's like it was registered once that it was almost 1 million people on the street in a like 4 million people city or something. I believe Minsk is like 4 million.
Okay,
No.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was crazy. It was like Belarus is not a country of young agitated people. Belarus is knowingly a country of elderly population. It's mothers and grandmothers basically. Like
Wow.
we have this saying that everybody has a grandma in Belarus, and or in Ukraine basically. Like everybody has a cousin in Ukraine. Everybody has a grandma in Belarus. It's like this thing, and I heard some people say things like that, and it's kind of confirmed basically that that's what's going on. And so yeah, so then it went in Belarus, and what was basically happening then is that it kind of all flowed back into Russia organically somehow, because then we had our own series of events, then we had our own voting, and then the big thing happens. And the big thing that happens is the poisoning attempt. You maybe know the deal.
Yeah, the poisoning
Yeah.
attempt is like the official in the
Yeah.
UK, as it were.
No. It's the attempt in the UK. It was much earlier. I'm talking late 2020 now.
Okay, yeah.
I'm
Alright.
talking the Navalny guy poisoning. I'm
Oh,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
him because
Okay,
he
yeah.
was like just going around about his day, and then suddenly on the plane it goes really bad for him. He's like
Okay.
feeling awful. He's like, and then basically some activists in his basically room in a hotel that he was staying in. They took a bottle that was there. They took some samples, and it was like, and then the guy basically quickly went to Germany. They had petitioned for Navalny to go to Germany quickly for healing, and he was transferred there. Our government didn't even hold him. I'll tell you later why. But kind of for an obvious reason. They wanted, if he survives this, they wanted him to never return, because they
Right.
made it clear. They made it abundantly clear. And whilst he was away, he was healing. He came back around. He was fine because he was helped rather quickly. Again, his team here and he there, they are working together to produce those huge investigations. The first one was kind of impressive. You should kind of watch both of the videos. Both of them have English subtitles. They are long videos, but you should watch them because they are like important parts of history and important parts of who Putin is. It's like a big thing. And the thing with Navalny is that he gets this thing done, and he releases it whilst he is away. The first thing he releases is whilst away is called "I Know Who Tried to Kill Me," and he makes an impressive operation out of it. He basically discovers this whole network of people who are like who put poisoning people on the conveyor, and then basically they prank call one of the lower people in the chain. And he prank calls one of the lower people in the chain, and he pretends to be a guy who is assembling a report for the man at the top himself.
Well, I have some breaking news, guys.
Yeah.
What?
The Antonov 225, the I think the largest airplane in the world, has just been destroyed by an airstrike. That's the
Ouch.
6-engine airplane. Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, I know the one. That's awful. That's kind of awful. That one was unique.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a unique aircraft. Wow, that's kind of a symbol. Yeah, it was in Ukraine. It
I
makes
gotta
sense.
run too, guys.
Okay, thank you
Alright.
for dropping.
See you,
Okay, thank you. Yeah, if we
Yeah.
have like 10 minutes more, I'll finish the story here.
Sure.
Because what happened
later,
next is
Bobcat.
then
Be safe.
yeah, yeah, and so thank you, Isaiah, for being with us. And so what happened next is that he releases 2 investigations. The one investigation is I know who wanted to poison me, and all of his opponents basically instantly went, no, this is all fake. He never got poisoned. This was all like This was all like staged, and it's impossible for anyone in power to be so gullible to fall for this prank call and to basically say everything out loud on the phone, on record. But it happened nevertheless. And this is where the cracks started forming about how basically everybody in our government, even the worst of the worst, are incompetent. Like, nobody is capable of doing the thing that they are supposed to do the way they're supposed to do it. Like, nobody can. Like, this is what was going there. And the second investigation he reported basically before returning to Russia is like this huge movie about this huge palace that Putin has. And people around me say like, duh, that's obvious. Of course the Tsar would have a palace. It's not even the biggest palace a Tsar ever had in Russia.
Right.
And so, but then you gotta get it. His content is not for the top educated thought leaders. No.
Right.
His content is for the general population. He's a populist. In probably the best sense of the word, this guy is a populist. He does everything and anything he can to sway people on his side. I don't know if it's purely good or purely bad or anywhere in between in our situation, but he actively tries to show people that the government is basically robbing them. That's basically why he's popular. And so that's what he did. He showed this impressively huge palace, and most of the people who saw it, and this video got impressive numbers on YouTube, like crazy impressive numbers on YouTube, like I believe in the millions in the first day. And that's for a purely Russian video for the Russian audience. Yes, it had English subtitles, but that's just subtitles. It will make it viewable for you, but that's about it. A lot of context is something I might have to clarify on our next talk. Yeah. You probably can Google it, but still. So the thing is, this thing, everybody watched it. Everybody in Russia watched it. I watched it. My friends watched it. All of us watched it. We were all kind of impressed by how much he could have done from abroad with his team here. And then he says, "Yeah, I'm coming back to Russia." And when he comes back to Russia, of course, there's this people meeting him at the airport. Like impressive numbers of people meeting him at the airport. At first, police tries to push them out. They push them out from the arrivals hall. They push them out in the winter. It's winter. It's like a year ago, pretty much precisely a year ago. So they push people out in the winter. They block the arrivals hall with like armed police. But people are not going away. So you know what happens next? They divert a freaking airplane to another airport. They put it for hold for like half an hour, I believe, and then they divert it to a different Moscow airport where nobody's waiting for it. Where generally the planes of this airline are not landing.
Wow.
So they are like, we are closing the airport for 5 minutes. We are diverting this flight. Yeah, this is the level. Again, it's not the most impressive thing an autocrat ever did with an airplane. Lukashenko freaking landed a plane with like a fighter jet in order to capture somebody who was there. I believe the guy was flying on, like a journalist was flying on an internal flight, on an internal European Union flight. I believe it was like from Rome to Warsaw or something. It was flying above Belarus. And then Lukashenko basically, like, his forces report a bomb threat on an airplane, and they're like, you gotta land in Minsk. And they land in Minsk, and then they arrest the guy, and then the plane takes off back off.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the most impressive thing an autocrat did with an aircraft, to my knowledge, so far. Yeah. They sure like their airplanes. And, And so basically what happens next, the guy gets to Moscow, he gets arrested on the arrival. He's like, because when he was in Germany, he was like technically on probation still. He was technically still on probation on his case from like 2013. And this case was like a manufactured financial case. Basically, he was arrested for his business doing business. You were like, no, you were speculating. You were like, basically he was accused of financial fraud or something. So it's like for the least connected to his political actions thing. They basically wanted to make him seem a thief, like he claims everybody else is a thief.
Yeah.
And so they arrest him on arrival because whilst he was in Germany, he failed to report for a probation check. He was in Germany healing. He couldn't. So his probation was replaced with a real time in jail, but like 3 years, and he was jailed instantly. Right now, just like a week before the war, and it was actually ongoing, there was a new trial for him because whilst he was in jail, his organization was named extremist. And that's the funny thing. The extremist organization law, and if an organization is extremist, any kind of demonstrating their symbolic, any kind of voicing support for them, or any kind of supporting them financially is a criminal offense. And this law has a back power. So basically, if you did this in 2013, you're still eligible. Like, you can still be accused of it.
Wow.
So basically, he's now getting like 10 more years on his jail time for organizing an extremist organization or something, which was not extremist while he was first jailed, and while it was created. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, that's the story of that guy. And basically, after he was jailed, it all kind went silent.
So you're saying that everything's fine, is the message I'm getting from this.
Yeah. Basically, there was another important event during the spring. It was this constitutional amendment vote. It was this thing where Putin basically did the thing where he allowed himself to be elected for 2 more terms.
Very gracious.
It's like instantly. Yeah, it's like let's all vote. And there was this thing, and then there were things like there were elections into the Duma basically this autumn, and when it happened, they were first trying to use electronic voting, and basically then it so happened that basically all of the electronic voting was fraudulent. Like fraudulent, it was like all completely invented. Like no real results there mattered.
Oh yeah.
Like it was like a different picture. One picture on real elections and one other picture on electronic voting. Basically, one of the liberal officials who wanted to get elected didn't get elected to the Duma because of the e-voting. Without the e-voting, she was like winning 75 to 25.
Gotta love it when you can just program in new votes for yourself.
Yeah.
Or how Republicans when the Republicans in our country when they don't get the results they want, so we'll just claim voter fraud and just hey no, that's not right.
No, we have actual voter fraud. Like we do have it. And so the thing is, again, throughout all of those protests, which is the final note I wanted to say here, a lot of people got arrested. A lot of people got jailed. Fewer people than you expect. Like it was all public. It was all for the show. It's an informational autocracy. You want to scare people, not actually jail people. You don't have enough jail for all those people. But the thing is, during the last, it was usually there are 15,000 people on the protest, and 200 to 300 people get actually arrested. In the worst of times, it was 2,000 people got arrested out of the 15,000. On the anti-war protests, 2 days ago, there were 5,000 people and 1,000 got arrested. So every fifth person. So it was bad. It was really bad. This time it wasn't actually an attempt to scare anyone. It was an attempt to stop the whole thing. Because again, right now our propaganda is trying to make it seem like there is no war.
No. We don't.
Again, they are trying to ban media from spreading misinformation about war. So basically, they are saying that anything but the information from the official sources is misinformation, and you're getting banned for it. You're getting fined for it. Your site is getting blocked for it.
But Anonymous did hack Russian TV, and apparently they were showing the truth about the war in Ukraine. Do you know anything about that?
No, I know that Anonymous kind of said we are declaring war on the Russian government, but that's all I heard.
Yeah,
I don't remember the broadcast actually being interrupted by someone like them. Okay. I am not watching it. I'm not, but I believe our liberal outlet that's still out working and that I'm looking at right now, the Medusa, would say something about it. They are pretty operative, and they said this one thing: despite what our information ministry wants, despite what they say to never call it war, we are going to call it war because and they already have to, in every one of their news sources, already have to write this huge plaque that says the information in this article is presented by an organization that is considered to be a foreign nation in Russia. It's so-called the status of a foreign nation. Basically a yellow star for their organization. You're not banned from existing, but they are basically deep. Basically, you have to financially report everything to them every month. And the bad thing is that they can put this thing on people, not just on organizations. And then you, as a person, have to make detailed financial reports on everything you do. Yeah,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So
If you make the slightest mistake, then somehow you fall down a flight of stairs and kick yourself in the ass a dozen times.
whatever.
or you get arrested, as it were, basically, because like if they want to arrest you for something,
I don't remember any of them getting arrested for being like inappropriate with their financial reports, but I know they are being harassed.
Right.
That's the point.
Yeah, I can definitely.
It's harassment.
Yeah, it's just like you create an unnecessary hassle for them, and plus, like, it's like an invasive like maneuver as well to just like demand like your personal finances and everything too.
Yeah.
Like a
That's
couple,
right.
we got to
Make it just
Yeah,
difficult
yeah.
to do stuff to exist.
Yeah, exactly. Martin Anthony said much earlier in chat, Putin was installed by Yeltsin. Thanks,
Yeltsin.
Clinton.
Yeah.
Yeltsin.
Yeah, that guy was actually a fairly elected president. And before he died, there was this interview with him. Like I believe he died in 2004 or 2007. I don't remember exactly, but somewhere in the woods.
Right.
And there was this interview where some of the cracks were already showing.
Right.
And he didn't voice the regret, but it was kind of evident. It was kind of evident that he realized his mistake, because he said, "Okay, I am retiring, and there's this guy. If you supported me, support him." And then there was an actual, like, a real election, and he was elected because everybody liked what he did with Chechnya. And so yeah, that's how it started. Then it all went downhill.
And here we are today, and
here we are today.
Mithril mentioned how President Putin announced he's putting the Russian nuclear forces on high alert. Yep, that's like
that's old news by now.
Right. We already know that
because we are all tracking this stuff. We are all scared.
Yeah. Lin P does also bring a point that U.S. is done to voter fraud in other countries as well because of the many different countries that we want to control because we don't want communism to take hold in those Latin American countries or all those other.
We don't want anything
I'm actually
but
reading
fascism in other countries.
Yeah. I am actually reading interesting news. Somebody is going to jail because the leader of the Russian delegation in the UN conference on climate brought his apologies about the invasion into the Ukraine. He said something like, "Allow me to introduce my apologies on the name of all the Russians who were unable to prevent this conflict."
And that guy is going to get arrested.
He also added that everybody who is watching the things that are happening can't find any single reason for what's going on. No justification.
It's from what Robin says, I mentioned on Steve Shaw's Hangout, is that there was there's a unique history of Ukraine where it sits because it has a lot of black earth soil, as the word. So it's rich in that and can grow a lot of food for Europe. So just strategically, it's targeted by a lot of people on a lot of different sides. And so the attack of nations from Russia has been going on for a decade, since the word.
But the thing is that you got to realize that there is this line of propaganda that was going on. It was bad. It was awful. It was Nazi-like in its rhetoric. But then still, even though it happened, the war came out of nowhere for everybody. They were not ready for this. They didn't manufacture this pretext they wanted to manufacture. Their attempts were miserable.
So instead, they're just presenting it's not happening.
No, instead they are saying basically they are kind of how do you say it? basically the official Putin's position is that one, we had no choice. Those are Nazis out there. Those Nazis are committing genocide against Russian people, and we have no choice. And the second point is this: listen, guys, this is not a war. We are not killing actual civilians. We are just destroying military targets. It's clean. It's fast. It will be over soon.
Just like how we're drone striking Pacific points of like killing Pacific members of ISIS or people who like work with ISIS from our like state propaganda as well as state governments.
Yeah.
And how is our administration is going to respond, and how will they react?
We're
to
doing
these
sanctions, which is definitely going to hit the oligarchs and not the people on the ground.
Yeah, that's the thing, because again, as far as just like I told, our civil aviation is dead. Like, we have no aircraft for what it's worth now. Even, I don't know, there are two situations happening from here, because like the guy who was president back in like 2008 to 12, the Medvedev guy, he was like ranting on his Twitter or Facebook page, because he has a Facebook page, he's the internet guy, and he was ranting about how this is the nice time to leave all this diplomatic bullshit, to start looking at our geopolitical enemies through a target visor, and to nationalize all the property of the foreign companies, because they did that to us. So basically this guy is saying, like, let's take all the airplanes with ourselves, because they are on our territory. They can't force us to give them up.
Yeah.
But you know why this is bad, even if it doesn't go all completely haywire? Those aircraft need maintenance, like proper maintenance, like with people who know how to maintain them. And if you don't do this, they start falling from the sky.
Almost immediately.
Yeah, almost immediately. It's like a monthly thing. If you don't maintain an aircraft every month, something is going to fall off. It's a complicated thing.
I mean, hell, talk to Boeing about like their Max 737 lines. The
737 Max is like a visible example of somebody royally screwing up in the company.
Well, no, that particularly Boeing. With Boeing the case, they kind of knew that like that sort of thing was happening.
They knew. No, it's not a result of somebody screwing up once. It's a result of a historical series of being not controlled by anybody from the actual government. They let them self-audit, and when they let them self-audit, you know what happened. So business. Sure as hell it works. Sure as hell they are not cutting corners.
Yeah.
And like Boeing is this like historically important aircraft manufacturer that did like arguably impressive things. Like at least like you always like trusted in it, and then this happens.
So the Boeing is the biggest like employer in Washington State. My dad does work for Boeing. A thing. I think he actually works on the Max 737 line. So I honestly have not asked him any questions about the crashes. Themselves.
Yeah, I believe that 737 Max is manufactured in Washington. Yes. I believe I was reading about that.
But like, again, it's just like we mentioned this before, because like there was like the guy who testified against Congress that he was bringing up all of these like problems with that line and we got like grounded flights, and then the executive just like said, the Pentagon, that's work for the Pentagon, just like grounding a project if there's so many problems, but the Pentagon's not a multi-billion dollar company for profits.
Yeah.
Which is why I think like deprivatize everything and publicize like everything in my opinion.
Anyway, we're not getting any of that aircraft anytime soon.
Yeah.
Guess who is not seeing any one of those anytime soon? Guess who is not flying anywhere anytime soon?
Most of the Russian people.
Yeah.
I do want to mention, we haven't mentioned this yet, but we should thank the patrons of like this show, which is scrolling down at the bottom, but I'll just like out loud publicly thank Marty, who's in the chat with us, Flora, the Fuck Boys, Joe, who's also in the chat with us, Tim, and Eli. Thank you for giving us money, because why did you give us money for this? Just us sit around and talk about like whatever.
Yeah.
But this is fascinating.
May I do one last thing?
Sure,
please.
I
want some people in your chat to ask maybe 4 or 5 questions to me as a Russian person. I am really interested in what people will ask. I don't know how to do it. I am
fire
not
away.
seeing the chat, so please.
I'll let you know questions that. Oh yeah, there
The
was
ones, the ones you find most interesting to yourself, maybe even. You just like ask me, please.
It's a question I have for a Russian person. Ooh, that's a good question. Do I have like a question for a Russian person? I have to think about that. And anyone in the chat, if you have any questions of a Russian person about like anything, honestly,
Anything, literally anything. Like I am not a typical Russian person. Maybe I am maybe the Russian guy who speaks English. That might put me in a specifically privileged group of Russian people.
Can you play the
that's whatever.
balalaika?
No, I am not good at musical instruments.
For those who don't know, the balalaika is a big triangular guitar thing.
Yeah, it's notoriously complicated to play.
Now you did mention how like the Russian government and the state propaganda just hates like certain like Western media. They want that here because in Russia because they'll corrupt the people and like with the Western propaganda of like homosexuality as well. So it's how easy or difficult is it to get like Western media or media outside of Russia as it were?
Like how easy it is for me to listen to Western media. Easy enough. I just have to know English, and then I go to YouTube. And well, we have our own liberal outlets. We have our own Russian versions of the Western media. So no, the internet made it extremely easy. Like if you just have internet, maybe if you want something more obscure, you gotta have a VPN or something else to counteract the blockings. But it's easy. It's easy, and this is why I am so afraid of the. You know, this is not just the sanctions, but this is like. First or foremost in Russia, this is first or foremost an informational war. It's our government fighting the whole population to, like, for the informational control, you know.
Yes, exactly.
And that's why I'm afraid of the nuclear war or nuclear option in that war. And the nuclear option in the informational war is what? It's basically shutting down the internet completely. And this is the nuclear option, and then it will be scary because it will be an informational vacuum because everybody is cycling through the news every 5 minutes right now.
True.
And then we won't be able to, and it will be scary as fuck because you get the idea.
A couple of questions in the chat. Marty just asked, how did you come to like learn English vocats?
It's just like a story of me studying in like a really expensive school for rich kids at first, and then my family stopping being like extremely rich because my father went all douchebag on us, and then my school seeing how I am the smartest guy in the room, and then telling me, yeah, you stay because we need you for statistics. Because you take part in like Olympiad things.
You make our school look good, so you're gonna stay.
Yeah. You gotta stay. Yeah, I'm that scholar guy. Nobody in the school knew this was happening because everybody was like a kid of an extremely rich parents, and telling them would just like escalate quickly. So, and we had really good English teachers like for the most of the time, and then I started watching like American YouTube. Then I started watching movies and TV series in English. Then a couple of times I actually went out there. I have been to the United States once in 2013 and to the UK twice. The first time I've been in the UK, I don't exactly remember the date, but I remember going down into the dining room and seeing on the news how they killed.
I get it now. You brought the neo-Marxist, postmodern neo-Marxism.
Yeah, I brought the neo-Marxist. Okay, so
you're the outside agitator that ruined it.
I remember. Yeah, going down to the dining room and seeing on the local news that somebody killed Osama bin Laden. I remember that it was the day I was in London. Yeah.
Wow.
I can Google the day easily now, but the second time was actually again late 2013, summer 2013, and it was like a summer school thing. And already at that time, I was like the guy who was the best English speaker in the whole group of guys who went there. And I basically was the guy ordering the pizza, and and I was in the top of the group where were generally like 16, 17-year-old guys, and I was like 13. And so, well, I know like in 2013, 2015, 2016 is when I get to this current level of English. I speak and I hear and I listen to and I understand. So it's been there for a long time actually. For 5 or 6 years now.
I say, well, you seem to like to do well with it.
Mithril has a question. Yep. Is the invasion based upon the historical view of Ukraine as part of a greater Russia?
Partly, kind of partly, but not, that's not part of the official. No, it's a part of the official justification, but it wouldn't be enough. It wouldn't be like enough. Just that, okay, but then the easy response would be, yeah, sure, it was. But then in '91, you all signed this paper of the Soviet Union dissolving, and then they went their own way. And you kind of signed this, and you even signed this paper that stated that you will be protecting their territorial integrity, and they returned you all your nukes. Like the agreement was that all the former Soviet republics forego their rights on their nukes. They take it all back to Russia, and Russia is never touching them in protecting their territorial integrity. So this was like a blatant violation of that one. And no, the other part of the justification was, again, just like that guy said, it was like, they are all Nazis there. They're all Nazi drug addicts there. Right. They are doing a genocide.
And the Jews of Ukraine are saying, "What the fuck, bro? Nah."
Yeah. No, they were not talking about the genocide against Jewish people. They were talking about the genocide against Russian-speaking people.
Oh.
They hate us because of something.
Yeah. And so we are going to liberate the people.
It's kind of like how part of George W. Bush's justification is going to our they're going there. Yeah. What's
actually a lot of justification I've heard from people around here recently is like, and so Americans can do and we can't.
Yep.
Yeah.
And finally, Joe asks, "Do VPNs let you get on Twitter?"
Yes, sure. They do let me get on anywhere. A VPN is basically creating a tunnel from around the world. It's basically as if I'm going on the internet from America or Europe or wherever. And so it allows me to go anywhere. No, I believe that Twitter hasn't been completely banned in Russia yet. It works for someone. No, it's not the things they're generally banning. The thing they recently banned, which made me kind of shocked. Remember, I was telling on the Steve's broadcast about how the Russian ministry is basically refusing to report any casualties, like the mobile crematoriums thing. It's like, no, our soldiers are not dying there. We're not reporting this to their families. And then that they are assembling people in the war offices under false pretense, like the ones who've already served. Yeah, that's what they're doing. And the most terrifying thing I've read today is actually that the Ukrainians themselves created this website where they photograph all the documents of all the deceased Russian soldiers they find. And they photograph their documents and they put it out there and they enter their names, and all the ones they who are prisoners of war, they make videos with them and they claim their names, and so they try to make an organized effort out of this. And this website is they are yeah, Russians, look at your people here. If anyone of here, anyone of here, you can find them here, and you know what happened to them. Either they are deceased or prisoners of war or whatever. Some claim it was some saw it as a mocking or something, but it was actually, it looked like a nice thing to do at least. And you know what happens the instant next? Basically, the Russian ministry bans the website. Nope. Yep. This is propaganda. This is Western propaganda, and people are not dying there. Then how the fuck did they get the photos of their documents?
They forged them. That's Photoshop.
Yeah, Photoshop. Sure.
Fake news, that sort of thing. Just easily say that.
It's all an informational war. It's all it is.
Exactly. That's something.
Sadly, not for the Ukrainians.
Oh yeah, exactly. Oh no, the Noam Chomsky also talk about how the America they do information war on in other places too, but they do information war a lot on their own people, and they have they done resources as it were and funding, pump a lot of funding into that to again basically control our population as it were. Noam Chomsky has talked about this in the past.
Yeah,
and Cassandra does have a point. If the VPN doesn't work, Tor and a VPN at the same time would be the way to go. There's an Onion version of popular sites. Including some news sites. So that's good information to know. I'm trying to think. We got like a couple more minutes before the end of the show. And we're not ending now, but we'll on Zoom. But I would definitely want to
Yeah,
say thank
I
you so much for coming
yeah,
on.
thank you. Really,
It's
thank
very
you.
informative.
Yeah, I wanted to say the last thing about how Russia failed miserably at something. Can I tell you the last anecdotic story?
Sure.
Go ahead.
There was this story about how 2016 Russia tried to ban the Telegram messenger. And have you heard about that? Have you happened to hear about that?
No.
And the thing is that all the servers of the Telegram messenger are like on dynamic IPs that they rent from Google and Amazon. So they are not staying on the same IP anytime. And so basically the Russian Ministry of Information, which does the blockings, said, okay, then we will block all the IPs like that we find them on. And what happened is that the Telegram thing worked through all of this. But the site of Russian government went down for a couple of moments. The site of the main Russian bank went down for a couple of moments. The site of the Aeroflot, the Russian airline, went down for some time. A lot of Google and YouTube stuff went down for some time because it's dynamic IPs. They are rotating.
Exactly.
And if you just by the end of the thing, they blocked 14 million IP addresses. And and when they did realize that only half of the internet is working right now, and you never know which half, they are like, no, we failed. We're not doing this anymore. Sorry. And then basically then all of our propagandists got their official Telegram channels. Yeah.
The internet's not a big truck.
It's a series of tubes.
Yeah.
So we're going to stop up half the tubes.
Yeah. That was like, yeah, I know we're not supposed to be this lighthearted, especially me here in this state
No.
day and age.
You have to laugh.
But actually, what I've been telling my friends who were all shocked and like confused and screaming, and my best friend is taking antidepressants now because she just can't hold it together after this. Basically, what I told them is that the only thing we can do now is stay together, be ourselves, live the way we live.
Yeah, exactly.
Make sure that we voice our opinions to anyone who asks. Make sure that we are not afraid. We might not be the activists. We might not be the protesters. We might not be the ones who overturn anything, but we can stay ourselves. Because right now, like actually on the 24th, pretty much half the people I am subscribed to on my social media, this social network VK, which is like Russian Facebook, and a lot of people on Instagram and in other places, they all posted their anti-war memorandums. Some wrote long texts. They all said no to this shit. Which is I find kind of reinforcing. I find this kind of encouraging. It's like, no, we didn't vote for this. Not our president. Not our war.
Yeah, exactly.
Not what we chose. And the harm that is going to our people from this all is already going to be evident because isolation is an awful thing.
Yes.
Just now in the modern day and age, it's awful. And I'm sitting here and realizing that I'm probably not going to my favorite place in Bulgaria for until Putin is out of office, and that's awful because we don't know how long it will last. Nobody knows. It might be fast. It might be tomorrow. It might be 10 years. We have no idea.
Why can't the U.S. just stage a coup in Russia? I mean, that's what we do. That's how we roll. That's our bag.
I know, but then if it suddenly opened up, it's like World War III,
Yeah,
true.
It's a perfect justification to attack NATO.
Yeah. And of course, when we stage a coup in a foreign country, that's so that we can install someone like Putin.
Yeah,
of course.
So I mean, we did there was like an article I found about like the 2014 coup in Ukraine. That's like we helped along. It's like so many different coups all around the world too. It's like the truth out to like a year or two ago said that like we backed like 71% of the military dictators in the world right now.
Yeah.
Either backed or support or like give arms or to and stuff like that. That's been like 90 minutes. That's been most of the show. But like everyone in the chat loved the information and the conversation, and
Yes.
so we were happy to have you on Vote for the Cats. You don't have anything to plug, anything like that. It could be even like your own thing or like someone else's that you wanted us to check out. Have any plugs?
Yeah, again, I am urging everyone here to check out those two videos I was talking about. It's called Navalny, the channel, and the two videos are his most viewed ones. The one is like I know who wanted to kill me, and the other one is the Palace of Putin. It's two big famous ones. And so yeah, that's my recommendations for you today because it's history. It's important history.
Yeah. Okay. Then do check that out. I'm of course Summer and a Geek on like YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. I should upload more videos on my YouTube channel. And last Friday I was on the Mind Skeptical Leftist YouTube channel and Twitch channel talking about like left unity with like Corey Johnson as host, and Anarch, who's an anarchist YouTuber, Yanis, who's just a regular Schmo, and Justin Clark, who does Red Reviews, and also Ben Burkus, who like earlier last week was on Joe Rogan, and I did not mention anything about that at all, I swear. But but that was surprisingly, actually, most of us kind of agreed that like left unity is not a thing, or it's not important to like focus on, except for maybe Ben Burkus, which is kind of weird because I thought there was going to be more yelling during that hangout. But John Brockman, you're part of another podcast, aren't you?
Yes, Dungeons and Debacles, D&D podcast, very different from this. A lot of fun.
All right.
And with that, I guess we can say goodbye. And you get to...
Yeah, goodbye, everyone. Thanks for staying here.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for staying with us.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget to practice self-care and take care of yourself as well.